Anything you say can and will be used against you. This is the dysfunctional ideology many black people have. And sadly, this is why they get so upset and butthurt when somebody presents a different opinion. Now, recently I talked about a video I did. There was a video I did called All About Maryland, Black Actresses, and White Hollywood. I think that's the title. I told one of my family members about the video I did and how the black woman was the least paid actress in all of Hollywood. And the response I got was, "You're going to get in trouble for saying this." And I sat there, I said to myself, how am I going to get in trouble for saying something that is backed up with facts that go back as far as an Essence Magazine article I read back in 1996, and I can even go back as far as the 1970s to prove, but I'm going to get in trouble. But what it showed me was truly the cowardice of the Negro when it comes to expressing opinions. Most Negroes are so afraid of a different opinion and offending people because, again, they're so afraid of reprisal from this white man behind a tree. Where is he? Where is he? They're afraid of this reprisal from this white man behind a tree, but they're afraid of presenting positions and opinions that differ from the narrative of this white liberal and his view of the world, of the black world, is what I wanted to say. But they're afraid of expressing an opinion that differs from the opinion of their white liberal slave masters and their view of the black world. And the whole idea that you're going to get in trouble for speaking your mind on facts that you can pretty much back up in a book that I published all the way back in 2009 showed me, how cowardly many of these black people are. And, it sounds just like these old time mammies in some ways because this is what the mammy would say. Don't say nothing, Matt. You don't want to upset the massa. You don't want to upset Mr. Charlie. You really don't want to offend him. This is what you get. Anything that you say can and be will used against you, and you're afraid of offending someone when really there's nothing to be afraid of offending. Sometimes you just have to say things and they need to be said. Now, I've heard this also from other people. They would read my blog or they would read one of my books and they would say, you know what, you really shouldn't express that opinion because it'll keep you from getting hired on jobs. Well, guess what? I don't care. The person who runs the business, he's allowed to have an opinion and I'm not. I thought this was the United States of America and we were allowed freedom of speech and freedom of expression just as long as it wasn't obscene. I mean, I always thought that was the standard. But when it comes to the black community, you learn not to say anything and not to express yourself, and you learn to just follow a narrative. Instead of you being a leader, you learn to be a follower, and you're always learning to be afraid. And this is one of the big problems with black people. They're afraid to say what needs to be said, and they're afraid to do what needs to be done. They spend half their lives, looking out for a white man behind a tree instead of trying to be the best black person they could possibly be. And this is what is really holding back the black community and keeping it from growing. Because if you're afraid to just express an opinion, there's something wrong. I mean, these white people can express their opinions, these Hispanics can express their opinions, these Asians can express their opinions, these Arabs express their opinions all the time. And if I present something to you and I can't even say anything about it, what does that say? It says that I live in a fascist state. When this is what the black community, as I see it, is, especially under this matriarchal order. This is one of the reasons why I believe they put the black woman in charge because she's going to shut down any discussion or try to silence any viewpoint that runs counter to that of herself or these DNC slave masters, that they don't want those different opinions coming out. They don't want these different views coming out. They only want one narrative coming through. This is why your Negro believes that there's going to be monolithic thought because again, he lives for the leadership of this black woman and he does not live for his own leadership. And he does not understand that when you have a patriarchal order, people have differences of opinion, they have different views, and they present different views on different platforms so that they can um, show people that there is more than one approach to business and more than one approach to solving problems. This is what you're not getting because in a matriarchal order, everything is usually either fear based or it's just submissive. Because again, this is the culture that your female transmits when she's in a leadership position is submission because that's what she knows is submission. That's her natural order is no understanding submission. This is why your Negro male, for the most part, is so submissive and so weak, and he's so afraid to express opinions and present views. And everything is like anything you say can and will be used against you. You're gonna get fired. This is gonna offend someone. You're so afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. Everything is about pleasing somebody else. And again, that's again coming from that female way of thinking and that female order. Whereas a man is gonna say, look, I've got research, I've got facts, I've got findings that support this position. I can go pull these facts out and use them to support my position. Now, the book that I wrote, that I made, published 5 years ago, all about Maryland, right here. This book was one where I talk about, the least black woman being the least paid actress in all of Hollywood. And in doing my research for that book, I read numerous articles like the ones I read in Essence and the ones I read on other black websites. And I had facts to back that up. And I had a list of black actresses to back that up, saying that, this black actress is the least paid in Hollywood, and she is at the bottom of the totem pole. But again, most Negroes, when you present facts to them, they refuse to believe them unless there's a white guy and a white liberal in a lab coat for them to see it as true. And it really saddened me, to hear this family member tell me that you can't express an opinion. And I've seen this, from my own growing up here in the South Bronx, this monolithic view, this only one opinion, and I'm starting to see the roots of it. And again, it goes back to this female in the way that she naturally thinks, which is a submissive way of thinking, and her approach to life, which is submitting to others and deferring to others, and believing that, and this is how you keep your black community, oppressed, I believe, because they use this black female to suppress any type of different viewpoint or different opinion, and they use her to control, the way the black community thinks, and this is why nobody wants to take a leadership position or take a difference of opinion or even express a difference of opinion. And this is a way of censoring the black community. It's almost turned the black community into a fascist state where everything has to be done one way. It's almost where everybody has to submit. This is why your black community is really in the shambles that it's in. When you really look at it, it's this way of thinking that has come from this culture that has been transmitted in these single mother households. Now I know that may offend some people, but it goes back to my statement: anything you say can and will be used against you, and this is what happens in the black community. If you say anything against this black woman, it will be used against you. And if you present views that are different, that offend this black woman, they will be used against you. Because what happens is that these black men, males, not men, they want to please this black woman. They want to make her happy. So what they do is they attack your position because they want to win favor and points with this black woman, and they don't want to offend her because they want to they want to get in with her. And it really shows you, the weakness and cowardice of the black man because he's afraid to even express his own opinions and his own views in a country where you have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, just as far as long as you don't get obscene. And the whole thing is that you're not allowed to express yourself constructively. Now these same white men and this same black woman can go participate in a degrading website like your ghetto gaggers, and nothing's a problem. But the minute you express an opinion, they're getting upset, and that's really scary to me because it shows you, the lengths people go to censor black men and the voice of the black man. And it's sad that you can't express an opinion or a view that might just help people see things from a different perspective, or give them a better understanding of things, because most of these American black women are so afraid of being offended, and most of these black men are so afraid of offending this black woman. And it's just sad to me to just see that. You really, like, I have different, when I present views, they're very different from the views of other people. And they're very different from the views of this matriarchal, monolithic view. And the whole thing is that people make these threats saying that, oh, you won't be able to get a job. Um, you're going to get in trouble. It's like, I don't care. The way I look at it, I have nothing to lose either which way. I mean, a man who can't express himself is not a man. A man who cannot um, be who he truly is in any form of life is not a man. I mean, if you're living in a position where you're submitting to the woman, that's not the way God made you to live. I mean, He made you to be the man, to be the leader and the head of the family. If he has to have the backbone and the testicles to stand up and state his opinion, and then not only state his position, but back his position up. He cannot be some coward who sits there and goes, "Well, I won't say anything, even though I know that the facts, back up my position. I refuse to just sit there. I just want to sit here. And I don't want to offend these women. I don't want to hurt their feelings." Sometimes you just got to say what needs to be said. And I've been doing that on my blog, www.seansjames.blogspot.com, for the last 3 or 4 years now. And you know what? I don't care. This is my opinion. That's what a blog is. You're supposed to be able to express your opinions. You're supposed to be able to present your views to the world. I mean, if these racists, like these people, I've seen blogs with Confederate flags on them and all sorts of stuff. I've seen all sorts of, racist blogs, atheist blogs. Everybody else can have an opinion except the black community. In the black community, you can't have an opinion. You can't express different views. You can only present one view of black, and that is the one that fits the narrative of the white liberal. If you present views that go outside of that, here come the black matriarchy and their fascist Gestapo there to try to censor you and to try to shut you down. And that's really sad because it shows you, the sad state of affairs when it comes to expressing the very constitutional rights that many of our civil rights leaders fought and died for, and many of our black people fought and died for in wars like the Civil War and World War II and World War One. We fought for these rights, but we're not allowed to use them. And the sad irony is, the person that they use to keep us from um, using our rights and expressing our views is our own black woman. But if you say this to her, she'll try to shut you down. And this is the sad part about it. Now, this is not a bash of black women. This is just a statement, that needs to be said because the black community, sadly, is in many ways a fascist state. And if you don't say anything that fits the narrative of the white liberal or tries to please this black woman, they try to silence you, they try to shut you down, they try to censor you. And I've run into this even on my own blog. I've had people say, your blog needs to be banned because I presented a view saying that, these are the real reasons why 70% of black women are single. Your blog needs to be banned because you talk about how the single mother destroys the son. And because they can't refute the argument, they want to shut down the discussion, they want to close the forum, and they want to continue controlling the platform and presenting the only view, which is the view of that white liberal, which tells everybody that this black woman is a victim of no good black men, which we know is not true. If we really look at the balanced picture, we don't look at the choices that she makes. We don't look at how she joined the feminist movement and how this is the culture that has been transmitted for the last 40 years. We don't look at, how they pick these weak men so that they can try to control them and play these cat and mouse games. We don't look at the self-entitlement issues that somebody would have trying to close down another man's forum that, a place like Google gives you. Google gives everybody, the choice. If you get if all you need is an email, you can have your own YouTube account, your own blog, and you have all these tools and you can create your own content. But, you want to shut this man down because he expresses a difference of opinion. And the only place where these opinions get censored are the black community. Again, like I said, your atheist can have his own website, your goth can have their own website, um, your white supremacist can have their own website, and they can have their own YouTube channels and other forums, and nobody goes to attack them, talking about they need to be shut down, they need to be banned, and anything that they say can and will be used against them. because they know that these guys have one, economic power, two, they have political power, and three, they understand the Constitution. The only place where people try to censor other people is black people. And again, because that's because of the patriarchal way they've been taught. They don't want to offend anyone. And the whole thing is that what I've learned is sometimes you have to offend people in order to make them think. Because sometimes people take people for granted. And the only way to get people to start thinking about things is to say something that makes them wake up. And that may offend some people, but sometimes it just has to be said. And that's one of the things that I did on my blog, and it's really, helped me to understand that sometimes you just have to say these things. And whether people like it or not, this is my opinion, these are my views, and I'm not backing down from them. And if I don't get a job, then hey, I don't get a job. But you can't suppress yourself to please others, because that shows that again you're coming from a position of weakness, and then you really aren't going to get anywhere when you come from a position of weakness. When you come from a position of weakness, no one respects you because you don't have the backbone or the integrity to stand by your own position and to stand by your own views and to stand for what you believe in. That's the difference between a person who's a leader and a person who's a follower. A follower is always going to submit to somebody else's opinions and somebody's views, and they're gonna be afraid to express their own opinions and their own views. And what I see with a lot of black men is that they don't have the backbone or the testicles to stand on their own positions and stand up for their positions, and they let people come at them with shaming tactics like anything you say is going to be used against you. If you talk about this, this is going to offend someone. Well, guess what? Sometimes people just need to be offended because they don't understand that the position that they're in is pretty much dysfunctional. It's just like an alcoholic. He doesn't want to admit that he's got a problem, but if somebody just comes to him and says, "Look, you're an alcoholic. You're screwed up. You need to go to AA," maybe he might do something about it. But you just sometimes you just have to say what needs to be said, and it may hurt some people's feelings. It may hurt some people, but they have to hear it. And this is one of the things I learned working at the Strive program about 15 years ago. Is that it hurts to hear these things, but you're going to be a lot better when you go through this pain and then you continue to grow from it. Because if you can, the only way to fix a problem is to acknowledge a problem, and attacking the messenger who's sending you the message really doesn't help you solve the problem. All it does is keep you in a state of codependency. And this is what happens with people when they come at you with this. You're going to get in trouble for saying this. Anything you say can and be will used against you. Is that they want to shut down your debate. They want to shut down an forum. They really want to shut down any type of plan for constructive action because these people, again, are codependent on these dysfunctional institutions and these dysfunctional ideologies. So they don't want to hear a difference of opinion. They don't want to hear a different view because if those views start coming out, people may start asking them to start doing something for themselves. Um, and they don't want to do anything for themselves. Again, a codependent person loves the position of the victim because, again, the position of the victim for them is a position of power. And when you present differences of opinion, different views, different ideas, they don't like hearing those differences of opinion and different views and different ideas because it means that somebody may ask them to change, or it may mean that people around them will be asked to change, will ask them to change, or they'll take a different look at the situation and see things in a different light. And that means, again, things are going to have to change. They don't like that. Codependent people hate change. And many of your Negroes, especially your Negro females, are codependent, and they're in this position of, they believe that they're in a position of power by being the victim. And they use that position of power because they know that the black man is beneath them to abuse the black man and keep him in a position of submission so that he can also continue to think that he's a victim. And as long as both of them believe that they're victims, they never, you know, go into that survivor mode or start, making steps. And the real thing is that that's why they want to censor anyone who presents differences of opinion, different views, different ideas, because you can't, when you present different views and different opinions, again, people will start asking, what are you going to do? Why aren't you doing that? And you can't play the victim role anymore. As long as you're at the bottom, you can continue to play the victim role. And they enjoy playing the victim role because, again, the victim role is a position of power. They believe, but really it isn't a position of power. Again, it's a position of weakness. And everybody's always offended by the opinions of just a black man. You know, anything, again, they say anything you say can be will used. Somebody's going to use it against you. You know, you can't get a job. You can't get hired. You can't do this. Why is it that everybody else can express an opinion, but when a black man wants to express a difference of opinion, there's a problem? Why is it that every time a black man presents a different view of things, there's a problem? Why is it that when black men present things from a different perspective, there's always somebody getting offended? Now, these white guys can use the N word and all this stuff, nobody will get offended. But the minute the black man says, take responsibility for your community, take responsibility for your family, take care of your own stuff, and start trying to do something for yourself, all of a sudden people start getting offended, and or you present facts that fit positions, just like I said in the All About Maryland one, that they don't like to hear. That the black actress is the least paid actress in Hollywood. She is the bottom of the Hollywood hierarchy when it comes to business. They don't want to hear those positions, so they try to come at you with these shaming tactics and these other tricks to silence you. But we really need to hear different opinions from black men and from black people, because the way things are right now, the black community is going backwards because, again, we have this crazy feminine ideology that everything is monolithic and that everything goes one way, and that there can only be one view in the black community. And if you really look at it, that's a black female way of thinking, which is my way or the highway. If you don't want to do it my way, if you don't want to agree with me, the, there is there's nothing else, and that's not how it's supposed to be. I mean, that's not the way God made it to be. I mean, there's always a different way to do things. And when you look at the Negro community, again, they're following this narrative of this white liberal, this one view, this one position, and you have to come out of that way of thinking. There is more than one way of doing things. Again, just like I showed with the ghetto gaggers solution, there were two things that they could have done. But, like writing to that web host and lodging a complaint with the FCC talking about obscenity laws. But, you can't explain anything to most black people because, again, they think it's almost like a fascist state here in the black community. Everything is about censorship. We don't want any different views. We only want one view of the world. And I'm just hoping that maybe some black people start waking up and seeing that sometimes you got to come out of the box and start seeing things differently if you really want to change. That's all I have to say for this video. All About Maryland here is available in paperback and it's available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can pick up a copy for free. I have a lot of other great books on Amazon.com. Many are on Kindle Unlimited, so you can borrow them for free. And the ebook versions of many are just 99 cents. So there's a lot of great reading there. Open up your mind, pick up some positive African American fiction or some great nonfiction. Again, that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.